obviously on this roster, but is the expectation that, Brad, that Odeyingbo will be the guy who gets the majority of the action at the opposite spot of Montez Sweat, or could they slide somebody else in still? Is Odeyingbo that guy?
I mean, they pay $16 million a year. He better be that guy.
I get it. Like, this is a phenomenal athlete.
If you get it, then you understand that they're not giving a guy 28, $30 million guaranteed to not be the frontline player for at least this season. If the thing blows up and is a disaster, we can have a different conversation next year. But they're not going to slide him somewhere else.
Sure, but what's the projection on him? What are they expecting out of him?
Welcome back. It's Mully Haugh, Chicago Sports Radio, 670 The Score. Mark Grote there sparring with Brad Biggs. He's in for Mully today. I know what you're saying about Dayo Odeyingbo because he was given the highest guarantee, the largest guarantee of any new Bear. 32 mildo. That's a lot for a guy who hasn't had a double-digit sack season, I believe, as an NFL player.
That is correct. He had 8 sacks in 2023.
But I also know where Brad's coming from, and I think you kind of know it, Brad.
I know, I get it with the money thing, but I'm not going to just be married to them. But you have to play there because you're making this money.
No, you are. No. This is the NFL. You know this. Jonah Jackson, last week you asked this as well. He's getting $17.5 million. You know what that does? It makes him a rich man. You know what else that does? That makes him a starter.
Yeah.
Dayo Odeyingbo is going to be your guy opposite Montez Sweat.
Okay, I'll accept that. I'm just more wondering, and I hope this works out, but we have to now go to a place where we are trusting the projections and the scouting of the Chicago Bears on this player. Because I'm sorry, if they're telling me that the guy who has 16.5 sacks over 4 years, that's the guy, there's a little bit of pressure right there. And I get, like, he is a specimen. This is an athlete. I can see why.
He's a traits guy.
Absolutely. I could see why general managers like him. I see why Ryan Poles likes him. But this has been a huge problem for the Bears, except for one guy, getting to the quarterback. And the guy that I thought maybe the Bears, like, I suggested this possibility, somebody like Hassan Reddick coming to the Bears, who ended up at a 1 year $15 million, 1 year $14 million deal with Tampa Bay. And I know it was a disaster with the Jets last year, but the seasons previous to last year, 4 straight, this is a guy who had double-digit sacks in 4 years. So maybe there's a little bit of bias in my head because I was thinking of something a little bit more sure than
you were
Odeyingbo.
Thinking pass rusher for hire. The Bears are thinking building a defense. There's a difference. You know that. But I think when you're talking about Odeyingbo, I like your skepticism because it is the one player that they paid and the one starter among the 5 they just acquired who you have the most doubt about.
Yeah.
And we're not alone, and you're not alone. I don't want to say we because I don't want to speak. I think you are probably a little bit more skeptical here, and I appreciate that. I really do. ESPN's Ben Solik was the guy that said, essentially, he said they have an average DE2, which is what this role would be, playing opposite an average DE1 in Montez Sweat.
Oh, man.
That's the way ESPN's Ben Solik approached this acquisition and projection now. I don't think – here's 2 things are true. I love that you're asking this question. But I don't always think that you have to have a double-digit sack season to be a productive defensive end in the NFL. It sure helps. It sure helps.
Yeah.
But I don't know that you have to. He had 17 pressures the last 2 seasons. And that's pretty good, Mark.
Yeah, well, I will say, to your point about, yes, the other guy.
Quarterback hits, excuse me.
Yeah, 17,
50
right.
pressures, according to Next Gen Stats. 50 pressures, 17 hits. So he's getting to the quarterback. He's affecting the timing of routes and the passing game in a positive way.
It might be a great signing, and I understand what they are interested in as far as this player is concerned. I just look at the numbers, and I like when they brought in Yannick Ngakoue a few years ago, that first year, and I know it never worked out with Yannick Ngakoue. I like the idea of that guy because if you look through his numbers, and I don't have them in front of me right now, you're going to find 8 to 10 sacks every single season.
You like these pass rushers for hire, these mercenaries. They go from team to team, organization to organization.
Yeah.
They put their hand in the dirt. They take off and they get to the quarterback.
Right. But I don't know. I look at the Odeyingbo. And I mean, there's just nothing definite there. So that's what bugs me about it.
Okay, this is what I want you to do then.
Yes.
If you get a chance today, you will likely be at Haugh Hall today.
I will be.
And I know that there's no easy way to ask a question where you're going to be as direct as this, but I do think how do you feel or what is your reaction to the suggestion that you signed a big contract and you don't necessarily have the kind of sack totals that would reflect the deal?
Yeah, no, that is.
Is that a fair question?
I think that's a fair question. Yeah, I think that's a fair question for Ryan Poles. That's a fair question for the player as well.
How much does it motivate you that some people doubt you and your ability to get to the quarterback?
Yeah. No, and I think that's probably a question that has been asked of him. And I understand.
Did you demand that you have to start? Because I don't think that you're going to start. Because that's what you would ask.
You know I wanted to sound ready, don't you? Don't you, Dayo? You've been hearing this? You've been hearing me on the score?
Dayo, I'm the guy.
Talking about... And look, man, this could be the Bears' prize. This could be... I hope that next year we're going, man, Ryan Poles really identified the guy and proved everybody right. I just think that this is the one guy where you could look at it and say,
fair enough.
I think that's probably a good signing, but
you know what happened?
You got to poke some holes in
You know what I think happened? Football coaches, football executives, they fall in love with guys who look like Odeyingbo, guys who have the traits, guys who have the physicality,
Alonzo Spellman,
guys who run, guys who win the underwear Olympics. They medal. He was a gold medalist at the underwear Olympics.
Yes.
I don't know what his NFL combine numbers were, but I bet that they were off the charts, as they say.
I bet you're probably right. And I think it's okay to call him an ascending player, too. I think that's the way
he's young.
J.J. Stankovic referred to him. Young-ish, for sure.
What's it, 26?
Yes, 26 years old.
When was the birthday?
That's up to you, palsy. You're the birthday guy. Okay. Well, he's the same day as Taves and Kane, and this guy's the same day as Cap. And
Stop. Don't get off the track
silly
here.
Little birthday calendar, Haugh.
Morning, Mark.
Morning, Moon. Morning, Sun.
Don't you know what I mean? Is that you have some executives, I think Ryan Poles can allow himself to fall into this trap sometimes. He's a traits guy. He loves the fact that he doesn't care about the numbers and the sack totals, because if Odeyingbo had 12 sacks last year, you wouldn't be asking this question.
Of course not. Then I'd be like, yeah, that absolutely. I just have some doubts. I just look at it as in a position as important as it is, and I understand you cannot go crazy. It's rare when you get 2 double-digit sack guys as your defensive ends. I understand. I'm asking for a lot, but yeah, the numbers don't jump out.
920 makes a point that I think is worth remembering. He's not a guy that necessarily gets you revved up about the Bears defense, but Austin Booker is still coming back, and this last year was essentially a redshirt year for a guy with similar traits. Quick off the ball, good instincts, this and that, but lacked experience, needed to grow into his body a little bit more. And I do wonder, after a year in the program, if you will, as a professional football player, if Austin Booker is going to be a little bit more effective of a pass rusher.
I like that there's room for him to develop, too. That you're right, because he was really good in the preseason last year, opened some eyes in training camp, and then when the regular season came, he was just a little bit overwhelmed. And most people, David, you're right to call that a red shirt season for Austin Booker, because most of the people that I talked to on and off the air, I remember Brian Baldinger being one of the first people to tell me in one of the On the Clock episodes that this is a red shirt guy, that Austin Booker probably is not going to play. And except for what we saw in the preseason, and we thought maybe he was ahead of that schedule, he was right. So hopefully there is a bump from Austin Booker this year. That'll be a really good training camp story, actually.
We're going to keep talking football at the top of the hour because Mark Grote is here and he's all things Bears.